What is going on, X community? Exostomp here, and today, people, we're going to be going over the Mega Aggron division. This is obviously right after draft, and joining me this time is going to be Board, Chris,
Yes.
Flintloose, and Marshy. So, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am here to talk about why Registeel is the best Pokemon in this entire game. How it carried me throughout the entire season. That is all for my introduction.
Yo, what's good? I'm Chris Reed, also known as the GOAT, and I am a proven better low-tier player than XO.
Yo, name is Flintlows. I am the Season 9 Division champion of Aggron. Moved up later on. Time to do some draft PRs.
Alright.
Yo, I'm Marshy. I'm the GOAT. For real.
Oh, we skipped Marshy. Okay, anyway, so... kidding.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of
They make
goats
these
here.
claims.
Yeah,
She doesn't have the record.
these bold claims from Marshy.
I am the
Alright.
GOAT.
Of course. The goat of Gyapdos. Or, sorry, not Gyapdos, Goldtrace. That's what it was. Alright, but starting off the ranking here, we have 12th being Kyrak and the Kyrak's Crux. So, it looks like everyone was kind of around the same wavelength. And who wants to start off here?
Board.
Oh yeah, I don't know, it seems fighting and kind of Brown Week is from right off the bat. I haven't really had the time to fully gone through all of the teams individually. It passed the dead time, unfortunately, so I haven't had the time to do the PRs, but yes, from looking at this alone, it does seem to be taking a lot of hits from fighting especially, and I don't know if there's a reliable recovery. You'll play around that.
For me,
I don't know if there's much else.
what I wrote down is Magnezone plus Pangoro is a good breaking core, in my opinion. It's just that everything else on this team doesn't look like it wants to play together. And not only that, its only option is Wheezing Galar for hazard removal is Wheezing Galar, and then you rock Frostlass on top of that. All in all, it just doesn't look like it wants to play together, in my opinion.
Yeah, and what Flint's saying about Frostlass, with it being one of the best spike setters in the format, being also a spin blocker as well, having no rapid spin, just defog is probably not the most optimal. Also, I thought that the team was kind of dark weak. I mean, Weezing can definitely take dark type hits, but being the only removal option, it's probably not ideal. It also doesn't have great recovery, so if you knock off the black sludge, its time is even more limited. And Pangoro, I mean, it can take hits, but losing the choice band or something like that is definitely going to hurt its breaking power. So I thought maybe adding a better dark resist would be nice. Something to maybe improve the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the team, I like the little core of Thwacky and setting up terrain for the Magnezone and the Entei. I do like that little core there, but I don't know. I think it falls off because the fire resist being Entei, which is primarily going to be more offensive, and Bruxish, which obviously is going to be more offensive because it doesn't really have defensive qualities. That's going to be a problem as well because there are a lot of heavy-hitting fire types, especially in the format. I mean, we have Moltres, we have Chandelure, although I don't think that was drafted, but you never know. People can pick it up. Obviously Entei, but other than that, having one rocker, being Sandaconda, is definitely gonna be annoying because you don't want to bring Sandaconda every game. And then we already went over the Weezing being the only hazard remover, but yeah, I don't know. I think it has a nice, half the team looks really nice, and then the other half looks like it could really improve. Um, but Kyrick did say he's just gonna play for fun this season. That's why I picked up Bruxfish over for Alligator. So, you know what? All power to you.
I respect it. I respect it.
All right, Marsh, did we miss anything?
The other thing I have to add is that Thwacky is the only thing holding this whole team together. Like
True.
Thwacky
Yeah.
is like is the only thing that's going to take ground hits and actually be able to do something with ground types. Because Weezing
Yeah.
Galar, the best thing it can do to ground types is just wisp him. But Thwacky has to break them. It has to take the hits. It has to do everything. It sets up the terrain for Entei and Zone to take hits. Thwacky's going to be forced to come to a lot of games that it doesn't want to come to.
Okay.
Yeah, Wacky is just the one pin that holds this entire team together. I main gripe, of course, was its lack of synergy, and that's kind of the crux of the issue. If your entire team relies on a Wacky to come to every game and make it so that you don't get spammed, you don't get EQ spammed, there's kind of an issue.
All right. Let's move on to the next team here, which is the Bayern Munchlax, aka London's team. And this team was kind of all over the place. As you can see, a lot of people put them like lower, and then some people, such as Marshy, put them fifth. And I'm kind of interested in why you put them fifth. If you want to start with this one, Marshy.
Okay, so I think the draft is just really balanced overall. It has great speed to start with. Shaman and Tauros can come to most games and perform well. I think Tauros. How much did Tauros cost? Tauros was like pretty cheap, if I remember
I
correctly.
think it's 10.
It was
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a good price for like a really solid fast breaker. It has unlimited coverage for like everything. But yeah, the team just has a lot of stuff to get in these big hard hitters like Tauros and Escav. Slowking in particular is one of the best mons in the format. I think Slowking is like a top 5 mon in the format, honestly, just for like support. But yeah, that just sets Trick Room for Escav, and I think that can just go in most games. It's just very threatening offensively, and it has a really good defensive backbone as well. Just a really balanced team.
Okay.
I just thought the team was a little slow. I mean, obviously Tauros is definitely going to pull a lot of weight. And the other thing I noticed was that like, I don't think Girder and Articuno are like maybe the best forms of removal. Just since Articuno can be knocked off and then takes that 50% chip from rocks on entry, and Girder losing an Eviolite loses a lot of bulk. Definitely not like I mean they're fine together, but I would say maybe like getting a better form of recovery for one of them would be good, and then having the other as a backup. I just thought that might be helpful for like Incineroar, so that you're not bringing boots as often as maybe you are like Choice Band for breaking power. But
Yeah. For me, the main issue of it is the speed. When pretty much all of your mons sit below 60, with your three fastest mons just kind of spacing out at the top, just it doesn't sit right. It sits to me like a Trick Room team with like Slowking and Diancie, but with not the ability to like abuse it, I feel.
Yeah,
I guess it has enough to abuse Trick Room.
Yeah, that's its only real abuser. But when there's mons on the board that could probably abuse it better than like say Palo Sand or Incineroar.
I think the Pokemon to best resemble this team is Slowking. The second one is shaming, because that's what I'm doing right now. Thanks.
Oh.
So, I think the only problem in my eyes with this team, I don't even think the speed's an issue because Slowkey's just such a reliable trick room setter. It helps to enable a lot of the slower mons to just come in and revenge kill. Because Slowking doesn't die in one hit, like ever, unless you're like versus like a banded Pangoro or something that's just gonna smoke it. But I think the only issue with this team is that there's no good Scarfer. The fact that there's no good Scarfers, I think that's the only real issue with this team. I don't think removal is that much of a problem because the only thing that's really suffering from not having removal is Incineroar, and a lot of the time you end up finding yourself running Boots Incineroar no matter what, even if you do have good removal. Yeah, that's all I have to really say on this team.
Honestly, I think this team is fairly knockoff weak. Like, Slowking, Palisand, Articuno does not really want to knock off either. Same with Girder, as Chris mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and even Incineroar doesn't really like knockoff. None of these mods look like they would want to take a knockoff besides maybe Diancie. And even then, you're losing like your leftovers and something like that.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to add in that the team on paper seems okay. I think it could definitely function, but in Mega Aggron, I feel like there are just better teams overall. Like Mega Aggron, I will say this: the top 6 deserve to be top 6. Like they're very, very good teams.
Yeah.
So that being said, ranking the bottom 6 it's a little difficult. I think the team again it can function, but you don't want Slowking to necessarily always be a trick room mon. It just kind of likes to pivot out into mons that can do a ton of work, and I don't know. I feel like it's lacking in power. I know Tauros is there. Escavalier can, I guess, dish out hits if mons aren't fast enough, but yeah, I just think it's missing power.
Yeah.
Like
I
where
can agree with that, and that's one thing I pointed out. The only mon that really has a good attacking stat is a Scavalier. Everything else is like 110 or below.
I don't think you can really underestimate Tauros on this. He has a free life orb on basically all of his attacks and still gonna hit hard. Shaman
Yeah.
also works as a really good breaker with Seed Flare, as long as you get the drops, which are you're likely enough to get them if you just spam Seed Flare whenever you come in, especially with like Slowking spam teleport into it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're still baking off the fact that Seed Flare hits and gets the drop, or Mega.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I like reliable breakers. That's just me.
yeah.
But yeah, I think I probably ranked it probably lower than it is deserving. Now talking about it, but you know, I agree with EXO. Like, I think there's a lot of really good teams in Mega Aggron, and so it was pretty hard to rank them.
Yeah. This team would feel like it's top 3 in like Leiron era to me. Because it looks okay, solidly built, but when the competition is stiff, solidly built ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to the next one here. We have, oh god, it's gonna be my team, making it in 10th. So who wants to start off? 'Cause I'm not gonna talk too much about my team. I'll say it until the end.
Okay, I wanna start off. Let's see. Okay, I put this there. None of the mons are bad on this team on their own. Like I look at every single mon on this team besides Rapidash and like just Rapidash. I would look at these mons and be like, I'm gonna use them. The problem comes when the fact that you put them together, they don't support each other at all, really. Like, there's some good options with Scolipede, Grimsnarl, and Sock for, like, offensive power and some defensive backbone, but stuff like Rotom. Rotom isn't really assisting this team. Rapidash isn't assisting this team. Rapidash is just a weaker Scolipede on this team. It's just too much overlap and there's not really any point to bringing some of these mons for most weeks.
I like the design. Like I think with a couple trades, and I had worked with EXO to do some of those. But like Flint said, Rapidash and Scolipede kind of fill the same role. I think adding screens with both of them though is great, and then with potential like wish support with Glaceon could be good too, right? So you get this set of screens up, and that allows Rapidash and Scolipede to get the Sword Stance up, and then maybe break a Pokemon, and then maybe they're forced to switch out, right? And then maybe you can get Glaceon later to get that wish baton pass, something like that, to get them back in that position where Grimsnarl can put webs up again and do that again. Like I think the team has potential for good flow. I liked the removal options. I just think that there was a lot of I think the picks weren't very well optimized, and I think I like I said with a few changes it could be really good. It's a little fighting week, but I guess you're baiting like something like weakness policy Rhyperior, so you know I guess like it's just a concern of that like Glaceon and Rhyperior are both pretty good like defensive walls, and when they're both fighting weak and Bronzong isn't really helping, that was a bit concerning for me. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the main problem with this team is it's forcing Grimmsnarl into a support role every single week. You have so many setup sweepers, you have so many setup options, but you have one breaker on this entire team. Because I don't count Sock as one. I think Rhyperior is your only breaker across this entire team, and Grimmsnarl is going to have to carry all of your setup mons. Whenever Grimmsnarl wants to be a setup player, you wasted 19 points on this mon, but it can't even run Light Clay to set up screens. You're going to be forced to T-Wave everything because your speed tier... your forms of revenge killing are Rotom-Mow. Rotom-Mow is going to be forced to be Scarfed every week, and if you want a chance to be able to pull off a sweep with like Scolipede or something, you need to T-Wave like their Scarfers. You need to get them off the field or make them slow enough to not be able to kill the Scolipede.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so basically, me drafting was I want to pick up mons that I either want to use again or have never used, or I don't think will come back because we're going back to 18 points, and I don't know about Gen 9. So basically, picked up like Grimmsnarl, Bronzong because I never used it, Scolipede because obviously that wasn't there either. I picked up Surfetched before Sock, and none of these mons work well together. So I kind of screwed myself over because I wanted to use a ton of mons. And that's where Grace came in. It fixed it a little bit, but made more trades, and I think it will definitely be better. It'll be a lot more balanced. But yeah, I understand what you guys said about everything on my team, and yeah, that's why I'm fixing that.
Can I just chime something in real quick?
Yeah.
I think your fast physical breakers are weak to rock from what I'm seeing, and when you want to bring them in and then take 25, they do their job and then you gotta switch out again. And when you want to switch them back in, they'll take another 25 from Cellfox. If it's up, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to run offensive items, there's always that certain risk that they'll just be taking free hits if you want to bring them in. But other than that, with my whole heart, I think this is solid defensive options and solo offensive options. I don't really think it deserves to be placed this far low, even with its drawbacks, since I don't know, Sock coming in with Scarf, with Mold Breaker, could do some dirty job now. But that's all.
Yeah.
There's much else to say.
Yeah. All right. Enough about me. Let's move on to the next team, which is ninth place. We have E-Man in the Boston Bullet Punch. So everyone, it was kind of mixed. Like everyone was kind of around the same page, and then Storm and the Lappers, sadly, they're not here, so they cannot talk about why they put E-Man fourth. But everyone else was kind of on the around the same page here. So, who wants to start with this one?
Can I lead off with this one? I
Yeah.
have something to say. Why Arcanine, Breloom, Napoleon, those three mons do not, they look like they're trying to play three separate play styles. And that was the first thing I immediately noticed. Their cores are just not that good. Arcanine, Breloom, Napoleon, then Empoleon, Wigglytuff, and Dracovish, those don't look like they work together at all to me.
As like speed control for sand, like I'm not a huge fan of this. Like I just think that Dracovish and Sandslash are kind of weak. So your next fastest Pokemon is Arcanine, right? So I think like speed control wise, it's gonna struggle. I think weather is not something to rely on. It's better to have. It's better to have as something as like a potential like backup strategy or something that you can use to aid your team. So I think like trying to get Dracovish and Sandslash out there and have him be faster than Pokemon, but not being able to kill most things in the tier anyways. Like I think it's just gonna struggle. I don't hate the top three. I don't really necessarily understand what you mean by that. But
The main thing is, may I interrupt with this?
please,
The main thing is, I just look at these mons and I look at Empoleon. I see Empoleon kind of wants wish support. It doesn't have any reliable recovery. It gets wish support, but in the form of Wigglytuff, and then come back at it with Arcanine and Breloom. I'm expecting like Breloom to come on more offensive paced teams with Technician Black Punch or perhaps like a sub C set with Poison Needle. So I'm expecting it to be on a more offensive team. I actually like Breloom on this team. I don't like how Empoleon and Arcanine pair with it, and that's the main issue. It just doesn't look like these two options fit well with the rest of the team.
okay. Um, I guess another thing I saw, like I like a combination of competitive with Vic, but Rapid Spin kind of gets around that. So I thought maybe if they could fit like a ghost type, even like maybe like a cheaper ghost type to block spin would be nice. Just since this team is very much relying on like sand or keeping webs up as its form of speed control. I just think there's a lot that can be done to kind of counteract their speed control options, and I think having raw speed would definitely like help them out there.
I like it. When you mentioned that Arcanine for Shannon Lore, and I look at that looks like a much better pick. I think Chandelure on the team would do wonders.
I don't know. That would make it slower, wouldn't it?
Not, I think Chandelure's like isn't
Nope,
it
it's
based in
base
90?
80. It's base 80. It'd make the team a
Oh,
lot
Yeah,
slower.
that's what I'm saying.
You would give it.
yeah.
It would give it one Scarfer, and
It-
even with sand, the speed on this team is so bad. Dragovich can
Yeah.
never run Sand Rush because without Strong Jaw, it's doing 0 to anything.
Yeah.
Because without Rend, all it's relying on is like what liquidation or something. And
Yeah.
without Strong Jaw, your non-stab attacks are doing 0. Sand Slash is hardly a Pokemon. Even in Sand,
Hey.
you get a +2 and you do like
Okay.
no damage whatsoever. I think the top three are the only redeeming factors of this team. Lycavolt maybe. This is his only real reliable form of speed control since you can't use the Sand Rock or the Smooth Rock. I don't know. This team's gonna struggle a lot. There's no knockoff mons other than Empoleon. I guess Sandslash technically, and Volibye, but those probably can't come to a lot of games. So people are just going to run boots, and you have no way of getting them off. So Vikavolt webs are going to not be very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, okay, so I don't know how a team that is this slow is above me, but I digress. I think the team on paper looks really good, but then if you glance at the speed tiers, you just want to cry. Like the team looks really like bulky, like a bulky offense, and then but without speed, it's not good enough. Like I feel personally, if E-Man just drops the whole like sand mini core going on and kind of just fills in the speed gaps instead, like maybe dropping Dracovish and Gigalith and putting in, I don't know if it's available, or like Aerodactyl or Archeops or something that's just fast enough to kind of boost up the speed a little bit. I think that would be really good because Arcanine obviously has teleport, which is really good. Um, and I think could work pretty well with an Archeops or an Aerodactyl or something like that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my doc, like I had said like they didn't have a rock type to take advantage of it. But what I really meant was like they didn't have like a good like a setup or offensive mon that could benefit from having that. So I like the suggestion of like Arrow or Archeops, maybe helping them take some hits. Maybe like letting Arrow get a DD up or something like that. I just think that like that would be a better way of using sand than as a form of speed control.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Alolan Ninetales is available, and Arctazol. That is so much better than this weird sand core.
Way better, 100%.
But even without
Yeah.
Icy Rock, it is infinitely better. And Arrow
Icy-
is available too, so
Ice electric coverage is
Oh.
just way better than ground rock.
Dude, Arrow, Breloom, and then like give Arcanine for like the easy pivots. That sounds really good.
yeah, that'd be great. Arcanine is really, really good with Arrow, just because of how
What the fuck? He
good
does
it is.
teleport.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Arrow. I like Arrow here that removing Sand Slash, Sand Slash Dracovish and Gigalith and replacing it with like Arrow and then probably just a random mod to fill in. I think how many points does that give you? 22. Gives you 30 points to play with. Filling that in with a 17-point arrow, well, an 18-point arrow, and then like a random 12-pointer would probably do the same wonders. Like maybe Scyther, Miltank. Miltank would probably be the best here. And then
All right, let's move on here. We're not.
Just wait.
Would
Just
you
be
not need to
careful with
build my
teams.
brother a new team?
Yeah, let's go on. All right, Auckland Licky Pies is 8th. Lucas's team. All right, so, wow. Okay,
Yeah, I'm surprised.
okay? So Chris and Marshy put them pretty high, and then most of us put them on the low end. So, why so high?
Yeah, so I mean, Obstagoon is definitely like the best mod in the format, hands down. If I would like get in a fist fight with anyone that tried to disagree with me on this, it's like it's very strong. And then Durant is great when it hits, and so I really like the addition of spikes from spike support from Klefki, so that even if let's say Durant misses a hit, if they if you can get some spikes chip right, you're going to start to weaken down some of the answers that would potentially take these hits in. I think it has really good forms of priority, or not priority, pivot too, between like Noivern and then like maybe like Baton Pass Vaporeon, or even like a Choice Scarf U-turn Primeape. Like I think it has a lot of potential to get hard hitters in, and with something like Guts boosted Facade and Knockoff from Obstagoon, there really are no good counters to that. So I think like in terms of hyper offense, this is a really solid build. It's got a nice solid like backbone of Vaporeon and Torterra, which cover each other's weaknesses really well too. Um, and with the potential support of like webs and an extra wish passer from Swirlix, like I think there's a lot of like fun options here. I think it's going to give them a lot of flexibility in terms of what it's going to do. Um, so I mean I definitely really like hyper offense, and I think this is a good build in terms of that.
Yeah, you basically said what I was gonna say. I don't really think this team is necessarily hyper offense. I think it's more of a bulky offense, pivot offense.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Vaporeon, Gibro, Klefki, whatever, can all play defensive roles if they need to. But the offensive power on this team with Obscure, with Durant, potentially Noivern, and even Gibro, it's just so good, man. It's very hard to switch into all of these mons together. The only issue I really have with this team is the fact that the only rocker is Torterra. But with Klefki's hazard stacking, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue.
They are convincing me to put this mentally higher ahead. They are convincing me.
I need okay. So what I put down was Obstagoon and Galarian Slowbro are an insanely good like combination, and then I looked at the rest of the team. Torterra being the only rocker could be an issue because you really don't want to bring it every game. Hazard removers being Noivern, which mostly wants to be obviously attacking. I guess in low tier it can go either way, but and Klefki, which mostly wants to set up spikes, kind of doesn't want to have defog with it too if you're doing that. So removal can be an issue. Webs on Swirlix is okay, and I guess it's fine for what was it, 2 points maybe? I don't know. I guess that's fine.
Yeah, 2 points webs for Obstagoon and Primate. I like that. I like that.
What I don't like is that there's not a lot of special offense. I think if Durant was dropped for something like a Vanillux that could hit really hard with Blizzards, I think that would fit in really well here. It also has Freeze Dry, which is honestly pretty good against a decent amount of teams. And yeah, it would make the special attack better. I just feel like Durant itself, Obstagoon kind of breaks the same mons, and for the mons that it doesn't, there are other offensive mons like a Primate that can break physically. I just don't know if Durant was the best pick here. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think with that, you're looking at his special attackers very one-dimensionally. Vaporeon, Slowbro, and Noivern can all be really, really good breakers in the right matchup. Gibro especially. You can run like Life Orb, you can do like the quick draw, whatever. You set up Trick Room with it. It has unlimited coverage to hit everything. It doesn't struggle to break anything, and it's fat enough to live whatever hits. Noivern, sure, it has a really good defensive role on a lot of teams, but that thing hits with like Specs Hurricanes, Specs Dracos, whatever, and it's nuking a lot of stuff. I think he has really good options for both physical and special offense here.
Mm-hmm. And I think like the argument that having both physical and special breakers is a valid one at some points. I do want to mention that I think a lot of people fall into this trap thinking that they need special breakers, and I think it would be better to have a lot of really strong physical breakers and no special than to have kind of like masters of none, where like none of them are like in that caliber of being really good breakers. Not that I think that your argument for this team might have some validity, but I do think you're kind of sleeping on the fact that Vaporeon has like I think it's like 130 special attack, and Noivern with Boom Burst is going to put out a lot of damage. But I do think it's worth noting that you don't necessarily need special breaking power, but it definitely does help in most situations as long as you're not passing up power for splitting the offense and not having something that passes that 120 or 130 gap that really allows a Pokemon to put any move on its 4 slots and actually start to do some damage. It's going to rack up and isn't going to be counteracted with like wish support or lefties and stuff like that.
All right.
I just love the fact that he has so many tools necessary to keep his team healthy with regenerator, wish supports, like Toterga's synthesis, right? You can break down the enemy team and just kind of bring in Durant or Obstagoon at the end to clean things up.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Let's go on to the next one here. We have Crossbow's team in the. I'm gonna screw this up. Valdosta V creates. Yep, got that one. For the rankings, everyone was kind of around the middle. So yeah, that's interesting. I do want to quickly mention because this is pretty apparent if you look at the if you look at the screen. This one has a remover being Talonflame, which as soon as it gets knocked off, it's gonna have a very bad time, and you might not want to bring it every game. I mean, having two removers is definitely better than one. But that being said, besides that, I think the team's offense is really, really scary. This kind of looks. This might be wrong, but it does look like a hyper offense team, which isn't a bad thing, especially in low tier. And I don't know many Pokemon that can take hits from a Gardevoir, a Heracross, freaking like all these mons just hit so hard. I'm just trying to think of one mon that could take hits from them.
Mhm. Yeah, those top four are definitely like pretty scary breakers in their own respect. I mean, a Roserade kind of has that dual split role, but I think they're all going to be like pretty good in terms of that. I think like and it definitely is offensively focused. So some of the comments I have defensively probably don't hold as much validity, just since it's hopefully going to try to out strength some of its weaknesses. But I definitely feel like this team is depending on Togue a lot in terms of I guess like a defensive backbone and pivoting. Since Talonflame won't be around for long and Shark has like no defense at all, and Togue being like the only flying and rock resist too is pretty scary. Like Pylo can revenge, but it definitely can't take that many hits, and a lot of flying types have either like fighting or uh, fire coverage for Togue, right? So I think that weakness is probably going to hurt them, since there are some pretty good fast flying types. But it definitely this team's definitely going to hit really hard. I just I think there are some holes that could be abused if it loses offensive momentum at any point.
I think the biggest benefit, or the biggest thing that I get from this team is the fact that he drafted Talonflame. Talonflame has got to be the biggest steal in this draft. It is 14 points, and it is insane. Like I think Talonflame is better than a lot of the 18 pointers. I would say the 18 pointers, a lot of the 17 pointers. At 14 points with 126 speed and the amount of offensive pressure it can give off, as well as being able to handle things defensively, it's really, really good. Especially for supporting this draft, supporting Heracross, supporting Gardevoir, helping Heracross break the steel types down for Gardevoir to come in endgame. I think it's just really solid here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's definitely good, and I'm on the same page. The only thing that I wrote was having a bulky water over the Sharpedo is probably better. I believe there's. Wait, let me just. I think there was like. Yeah. Okay. There's Jellicent available in the same exact tier. Which is not a bad Pokemon, especially like bulky wise. There's Araquanid that's available, which if you want like a Weber for a lot of these offensive mons like Gardevoir and Heracross that love to abuse it, that could be good. I just think Sharpedo kind of doesn't. I don't see it doing that much, and I feel like people draft it and they usually drop it in like the first maybe 3 weeks. But you never know. But yeah, that's my recommendation. Take that as you will.
I think Sharp is probably one of their best pivoters, and like it just deals a lot of damage, and then can get in the next breaker. Yeah, just the defenses really hurt it. Like it's definitely very like mock punch weak and stuff like that. You know, I think this team is probably going to struggle a bit with priority. Um, I don't know if I don't know if I would suggest Jellison, just since it's kind of it feels like it would just like be kind of dead weight on a team that's so offensive focused. But I definitely like Arachnid as a suggestion, just like to give Guard and Hera some more flexibility in terms of what items they're bringing. And with Miss Mag as a potential spin blocker, being able to pass Wisp, that I could see that synergizing maybe a little better than like a bulky water Jellison that has a hard time getting in these more frail mons in later. But yeah.
I think if he wanted to get a bulky water instead of Sharpedo, he'd need one that doesn't kill his momentum. Because Jellison and Arachnid are both going to nuke his momentum since they can't really get out on their own. And if he has a bulky water in his team, it's going to be switching into a lot of things and it wants to be able to switch out reliably.
Yep.
So I think he definitely needs to get one with Flip Turn other than instead of like Jelly.
Yep. Yeah. Iraq would have to be like a lead Suicide's Web, which isn't necessarily the most viable strategy in draft since it's predictable and counterable.
Yeah, but it helps a lot with the offense. I don't know. I think Sharpedo's still fine here. Like Banded, Flip Turn, like spamming that is gonna do a lot to teams. Just help to break everything down for like endgame Scarf Heracross, Scarf Gardevoir, or even like a SD Gale Wings like Talonflame can be really good.
That's fair. Okay. Alright. Let's move on to the next one. The next team here, ranked 6th, we have Arcadian's team. Okay, the Kyoto Greninjas. So, there's one ranking here that kind of feels off. Marcia, do you want to mention that one or
Dude, okay. I don't think you can really argue that Manaphy is like the best or the second best mon in the format, and I think he did a really, really good job of supporting it. Every mon on his team, aside from like Flygon, I guess, just really helps to support the Manaphy. Moltres kills the grass types. Hard walls like every grass type in the format. Virizion breaks down all the water types. Rotom breaks the special ones that want to like spam Scald. Coprosh has really good support. Mesprit is a fat pivot that also has like Healing Wish potential to give Manaphy a second life. Sneasel's really good for a low point fast mon. He has good priority. He has good support. I think Manaphy's just going to go in on a lot of teams here.
Okay. It's not bad. I will say it is a really strong team. But personally, I'm not a big 4 times a week person, and there's a lot of 4 times a week mons. Now, they don't necessarily have the same ones, obviously, but I don't know. I feel like a Pokemon with good coverage can easily just abuse it. And oh, hold on.
My biggest concern is just that there's absolutely no dragon or ghost resist. I mean, if you want to count Sneasel, we have some talking that we need to do.
I think Top Roger can check a lot of dragon types.
Yeah. It's just a lot of dragons have like fire coverage, but it is bulky enough that it can take hits. But yeah, I mean, they're very lucky that Shandy isn't drafted because it would very much do a lot. It could, like, if you could pivot a Specs Shandy in, I could see it putting in a lot of work against this team. It does help that Moltres, Virizion, and Flygon all outspeed it, but they just can't take hits. So if you get it in front of the cop, you're in trouble. You're losing something that's a good check for Manaphy. I can just see this team being kind of picked apart. But otherwise, like, I think if it's not facing a really strong dragon or ghost, I think it could hold, a lot of weight, and I think it's pretty well built in terms of like spread of pivot, clerks, hazards, and removers. So I think it's a well-built team. I just think it has some glaring weaknesses that were concerning for me.
I think with that, it can really rely on Sneasel to revenge kill the offensive dragon types. He has a lot of really fat pivots. Moltres Mesprit specifically, that can just get in Sneasel or get in like Scarf Flygon or whatever, and just revenge kill any of the offensive mons that want to try to take on like Coprage or whatever. And even without resisting, Mesprit is fat enough to tank hits and just U-turn out.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it is a really strong team. Again, the top 6, at least for me, were interchangeable almost. Obviously, like I feel like top 2 are probably always top 2, but yeah, this team was really strong. I did write obviously the weakness part, but also having a spiker or toxic spiker. Again, I don't really count coughing, even though I guess it's not a bad mon, but having a spiker would be really nice on this team because there's so much pivot. But other than that, I mean, very strong team, and I think could do very, very well. Yeah, that's about it. All right, let's go on to the next one here. 5th, we have Chungus's team, Cape Cod Comfies. Okay. All right, we have
Big Shungus counters this team.
Yes. No. I think this team is really good. The main thing that I wrote was, or at least issue-wise, was that the speed going from 86 to 112 could be an issue. Finding a base 100 could fix it. But other than that, the team is really solid, which is why I put it 3rd. It has pivot, hazard setters, hazard removers. The only thing it's kind of lacking in is clerics, where like wish, but you don't always need wish on a team. Yeah, that's why I put it 3rd.
All right, so I think this team did a decent job of building around Swellow, but whenever your Swellow is your only breaker, aside from I guess maybe Dragalgy, it's hard to justify putting this like you put it at like 3rd, Chris put it at 3rd. I don't think it's very good to justify putting a team with one solid breaker and that being it that high on the rankings. I also don't like the fact that he picked round 1 Rotom Heat. I think that is just like setting yourself up for failure. Because Rotom Heat, like in standard draft, and I guess in low tier as well, it is a Gloomon for teams. It tries to hold teams together. But picking it round 1 means that you struggle to build around it in a sense. So you have to build around a weaker mon, which ultimately just makes your team a lot weaker in general. I don't think it's a bad team by any means. I just think it's very underwhelming. And you're probably gonna have to see a lot of like Banded Swampert, Banded Lichen Rock, Banded Serena even to break down the bulkier teams. And I think it gets hard stomped on by like offense, like setup offense. It can really take advantage of some of the more passive mons, I guess. I don't know if passive's the word for it, but like Fortress, Rotom Heat can't really dish out too much damage.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those like more bulkier offenses. I think like I'm a big fan of Dragalgy. I think being able to do T spikes, flip turn, having some offensive capabilities too is nice. And I think the flexibility of having different good like offensive breakers like Swamp, Lichen, and Serena is nice. And I like the pivoting aspect too. Like I think that this team is more of like is one of the bulkier teams that we'll see in this ranking. So I think like T spikes plus spikes with all this pivot could put in a lot of work. But yeah, it definitely has some weak spots too. I think it's a solid build. You know, nothing really stands out. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But that's all I really had. I just couldn't find too much wrong with it, other than maybe the breaking power.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's go on to the next one here, which is ranked 4th, Marshy and the Sexy Sizzle Beats.
This team's great.
Yeah, Marshy. Okay. Well, obviously you put them second. Now, most of us put you around the middle. So, all right. I think the main thing that that at least I looked at was that you are Ice Week. Now, you did mention that there is not a lot of ice or strong ice mons that were drafted, which is fair. That is fair. However, I also wrote that I just don't like Toxtricity, so I had to put it at least 5th, or at most 5th. So, yeah, sorry about that. You picked Toxtricity, I gotta put it at 5th.
Oh, look at the first 3 months, and the sweep potential is kind of good. I like it. But you did fluctuate the ranking by putting yourself second.
No, okay. Actually, let me say this. I didn't count self ranks. I put them there just to have people see what everyone was ranked.
Alright, that's fair. That's fair game.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the team. Like, Toxtricity, Tyrantrum, and Moltres all have like amazing breaking power and capabilities. I think like I think it might be a little bit frail on the defensive side, but if you can just keep getting Toxtricity, Tyrantrum, and Moltres in the position to break, I think it'll get rid of a lot of those offensive or defensive counters that would threaten the team. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the team. I like how colorful it is too. Just want to point that out.
Let's go. Another person that likes the colors.
Yeah. I think like the top 6 was pretty hard to discern from. So like I don't really have a lot of criticism for these last few teams, but I think it's just there's a couple holes, little Ice Week maybe. Just like since Moltres and Tyrantrum don't appreciate like priority ice shards, and Simisear, without boots isn't really taking that. So, I just, as long as you can keep up offensive momentum, and I have faith that Marshy can, I think this team's going to put in a lot of work.
Okay, so, everyone, like, their main gripe they have with this team is that it's Ice Week, but I had that in mind whenever I was drafting. I looked through the entire draft board, only one person drafted a viable Ice-type Mon, and it's a Sneasel. I'm not scared of a Sneasel. I'm not scared of a Frostlass. I'm not scared of an Articuno. Ice weakness on this team matters none to me. I have enough checks for those mons in specific. I have Comfy for just general checking everything. I have Simisear if I need to bring something to take a hit, I guess. But I don't know. I think the offensive potential of my team is going to be able to overpower a lot of teams. The one main thing I have with my own team is the fact that Comfy's really the only thing that's going to be able to get in my offensive mons, but they're fat enough to be able to take hits and like be able to just dish out more damage after taking a hit. Tyrantrum in specific, Gmolt too. They're very fat mons that can do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I do really appreciate that Tyrantrum and Moltres are good breakers that then also have good defensive stats as well. I mean, they're not like the fastest, but they do have the ability to increase their speed. And Toxtricity being a momentum breaker as well, which was like good synergy in my opinion. I like it. I'd like to hear your I guess like I feel like I'm gonna have a field day with Inteleon when we play. Other than that, that was my only concern.
I don't know, man. Inteleon versus a Seismitoad. I guess you can Ice Beam it, but he's gonna take like 2.
Yeah.
I'll run Choice Scarf Seismitoad. I'll run Choice Scarf Seismitoad, and your Inteleon is gone.
Yeah, I should. That's really fair. I'll scout for it though. Thanks for the heads up.
Yo, I think. See, what about Glaceon? See, easy sweep.
That is okay. Okay,
Well,
Glaceon's gonna 6-0 me.
Thank you. Hitmonlee
I go
who?
over whenever I play Glaceon.
Yeah. One or two weaknesses can be played around for sure. You know, I feel like we're gonna be splitting hairs with all these teams. So
Well,
yeah,
you
let's
kind of
get to-
have to with these top teams.
yeah. Don't take it being too too close to heart.
Yeah.
All
I'd have
right.
I'd have a lot of fun playing with this team.
Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah, that's why I drafted it.
All right, let's go to the next team, which is Adrian's team, ranked third, the Miami Mimikyus. So, okay, so I ranked them second. I guess I could go first real quick. The main reason why I thought it wasn't first was that its speed is a little low. Being only having one that's over 100, kind of an issue. Also, removal is a tiny bit low because like Carcoal, you're probably not bringing most of your games. Gligar's fine; it's a pretty reliable remover, so that's fine. But I still think that the team is really great overall. You have Feraligatr, but you also have a bulky water, being Lantern, that can also pivot into mons like the Porygon Z. You have a lot of pivot actually for your Porygon Z and Feraligatr that can just abuse a lot of these teams. You got the Cobalion that's also offensive, but also is a pivot. Like there's a lot of movement going on this team, and it's not bad movement. It's actually really nice. The only gripe would be the speed. Other than that, I really like this team.
Yeah, I wanna touch on the speed a little bit more. The reason why I had it down at 6th is because he has one Scarfer across his entire team. Porygon Z has to run Scarf in almost every matchup versus any sort of setup sweeper, because in an offensive based meta like low tier, you need things that are going to be able to revenge kill like fat sweepers who are just going to outpace all of your mons. And PZ, I don't think PZ as your sole Scarfer is going to cut it. He has okay speed boosting options with like Agility Lantern and DD Gator, but nothing really great for revenge killing. He's gonna have to run like Encore Uxie every week if he's not running like Scarf PZ. I think he's I don't know. I think he's just gonna suffer against like setup based teams.
Mm-hmm. Having Porygon and Cobalion on the team together is really going to help because you know those steals that it can't break with Scarf are very limited. Cobalion is probably the best one, you know. So I think like in terms of those two picks is great, and I think Feraligatr is a good pick too in terms of strength. Like, and I like I mean, I don't think the speed is too much of an issue since a lot of their like they still have like Lantern for like slow pivot. Like I think that has a lot of like will provide a lot of support. And you know, I guess like Gligar always struggles with 4 move syndrome. Like it wants to run every move, and yet it can only run 4. So like having that being its best form of removal could be definitely taken advantage of. But you know, I think the team's really solid. I think it has a lot of capability to do really well. I think there are just going to be some matchups that it struggles with, like Marshy mentioned.
All right.
Please, for the love of God, run Agility Gligar.
Yeah, ability, weakness power, endure Gligar. Go off.
Oh my god. All right. Well, ranked second is going to be Robo's team, the Ottawa Salamence, and again, there's one person that kind of hurt the ranks here. Marshy, do you want to start with this one?
Okay. He drafted a Zydog round 1, which I can never support. I don't think Zydog is a great Pokemon in general, but it's fine. He just did a very poor job of drafting around it. With Zydog, you always want to draft like pivot spam. His only pivoter, unless you count Galar Articuno, which is never gonna really run like a fat pivot set is Decidueye. So Decidueye is going to be forced into a fat U-turn roll every week in order to get Zydog in. It is too frail to take any kind of hits to switch in itself, so he's going to have to just sack Mons and sack Mons and sack Mons to get Zydog in. It's very counterproductive with his first round pick. I think Slurpuff is not a good second round pick. I don't think Slurpuff is great at all in general. And then Registeel just helps to kill that momentum even more. Tentacruel is an okay pick. Beware is decent. I don't even get why he has a Zebstrika.
Mhm.
I don't know. The team just looks very, very underwhelming to me.
Yeah,
Especially with his highest point mon being that Zygarde. It just does not sit right with me.
I got really, really excited by the combination of webs plus ghost plus competitive mon. And after like I definitely agree with Marshy. I think like while Zygarde is nice as like kind of like a meta defining mon, since it takes a lot of the would be ground resists and turns them into nothing. I definitely see the issue with momentum. I mean, I think Decidueye and Articuno can do a good job of forcing momentum, since they both hit pretty hard, and they can opt for U-turn. But they can be crippled pretty easily too, either with knock on either of them, or maybe Decidueye getting burned. But and I think even though the first two picks aren't great, the third round pick is very, very solid. I mean, I've seen Registeel have a lot of success in standard and in low tier. There's just not a lot of Pokemon that can break it, and having that Magmortar right there is definitely even like more of a taunt, since that's like one of the best ways to break Registeels with those like really strong fire types. And I like again, the team is colorful. I have to mention that. I'm a big fan of colorful teams. But I think every team I ranked that had Registeel definitely maybe got bumped up a little bit higher than it maybe would be otherwise without it. I just think it's probably one of the best valued mons in this draft. And I think it can put in a lot of work just by itself. It can definitely 1v1 the whole team, or a whole team by itself.
So fucking true. Based. I like it as Registeel my beloved.
I also put it number one because I couldn't put my own team number one. So
I guess you technically could have.
I could have.
Zydog, yeah. Yeah. Honestly, everything what you guys said is right. I mean, like, Zydog loves pivot, and there's, like, no pivot on this team, which is not good. Slurpuff being a round 2 pick makes no sense to me, because it wasn't going to get picked 3rd or 4th pick, probably, either. But that's fine. Registeel's fine. I think... Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as Chris, where it's very colorful, so you gotta like at least give it an extra rank there. So 4th. But yeah, it made it to the 2nd. Even with the 10th place, it was actually close to being 3rd, but no, actually it didn't fall down. So it's crazy. But in 1st, and most people agreed. Actually, I think everyone. Anyways, it's gonna be Chris's team. We got the Pastoria Piplup. How do you say this? Help me out.
Yeah, Pastoria Piplups.
Okay, perfect. Pastoria Piplups. Okay.
You gotta
So-
put Gen 4 best game.
So you put yourself 4th. Kind of weird, but everyone kind of agreed it's definitely the best or one of the best teams. Top 3. I mean, where do you even begin? The pivot is going off the screen, okay? The hazard setters, they're fine. Rhydon and Celebi, Celebi probably isn't going to be hazard setting, so Rhydon might be an issue setting up, because you don't want to always bring it, and then it gets knocked off, yada yada. Hazard removers, basically only being Crobat, again, might be an issue, but everything else seems good. I couldn't really find anything else. Clang isn't a Pokemon, at least in my opinion, but it's something, okay? But yeah.
All right, I think there's a lot of wasted potential with this team. As good as it is, I cannot say that this team is not good, because this is definitely one of the best teams, if not the best team in the division. But Aromatisse, Clang, and Rhydon just are not it. This is a pivot offense team. Clang isn't a mon, just to start out with, but Aromatisse and Rhydon absolutely kill your momentum, and they can't hit for any kind of damage. Aromatisse just isn't really a good mon in general. I understand if you want like a fairy type, but you could at least like get like a low tier fairy type, because I think even like a Grand Bull or like a Clefairy is gonna check things better than Aromatisse. In relation to like the point value, you could have definitely done a lot better with Aromatisse. And Rhydon, I don't think Rhydon's just a good mon at all. It doesn't really check a lot of the things that a ground type would want to check. It's knock weak, meaning it can't really check dark types. So you're going to have to bring the Aromatisse, or you're going to have to let your Drapion get knocked off versus any decent dark type. But it is definitely a really good team. I really like the Electros pick. I think Electros is really, really good in low tier. And you did a really good job at enabling your top 4.
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely always the hope. Clang and Rhydon were kind of panic picks, being like, "Oh wow, Porygon Z kind of smokes my team." So I thought that maybe the combination of, well, especially Clang. I mean, Clang is just bulkier, Clang with Eviolite. So that, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna bring it many games. I was thinking I would have liked wish support with Electros, but I definitely see like Marshy's point, like giving how much pivot there is, you know, I don't necessarily need it. I have had a lot of success with Electros. Like I know how it works and how to use it. And you know, the last time I used it, I just not having wish, I had wished that I'd had it. That was a weird sentence, but you know, that was kind of my thoughts and why I wanted them. But yeah, I wanted Obstagoon and I didn't get Obstagoon, so I was like, well, Celebi is definitely a master of everything, right? It has all the setup: sword stance, nasty block, calm mind, stealth rocks, light screens, you know, screens, U-turn, pivot. So I was excited for that, and I knew I wanted some strong breakers, so I was pretty excited about Blaziken and Teleon. I think these are some really good pivot breakers in the tier. But you know, I may consider changing out Aromatisse. But otherwise, I mean, the whole time I never got sniped. I kept being like, oh man, I'm gonna get sniped, and I just kept getting them on that I wanted. And I was like, wow, this draft couldn't have gone any better for me. And I feel like it shows in the building.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also amazed at how you managed to get round 2 Blaziken and round 3 Crobat.
Yeah.
I think both of those are like definitely like top 10 mons in the format for sure. Yeah. Even in like a 20-point system, those mons are insane. And Celebi on its own, it realistically should not be allowed in low tier. But you know, since the 20-point system, this is a very good team. You got very lucky with the top 3.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to run the combination of physical Celebi, physical Blaziken, and special Blaziken and special Celebi, or one or the other two. Like I just like I can't describe how excited I was to get the two of them, especially since Blaziken is taking U-turns and Celebi is not. So the combination of Blaziken and Crobat to support Celebi, I think is really exciting. So you know, I'm just excited to really feature those top 4 mons and use the others to kind of act as supporters and get them in. And I definitely see this team doing a lot for me.
Yeah, seems like the best team in the league right now, and I'm just gonna leave it off with I am glad I'm not versing you. So yeah.
That's playoffs, bud.
Oh no.
You know how that goes.
We'll see about that one.
Don't bring Mega Horn.
You know what's sad? I have a freaking Scolipede and a Rhyperior. So what do you want me to bring? What?
Yeah, you probably should, given I have Celebi.
Yeah, well. Alright, but that is it for Mega Aggron. That went way over what I was hoping it would be. But yeah, that was it. And we will see you guys in Laron. This will probably be posted the same exact time that Laron goes up, since Mega Aggron and Laron both were the first two divisions to finish up. We were able to, well, we're going to do them first. So, yeah, guys. See you guys then.
Out.